Welcome back to the They Are Billions clone code explanation series. Let's open up that closet. At the beginning, we've got import Pygame, same as before. Now we've got import JSON and import OS. You recognize those ones? Those are for loading in that map. Okay, and then import math. It's nothing complicated. I just wanted to use the square root function and I think also the math.ceiling function. That's like divide by another number, and then if there's a remainder, go up to the next round digit. That's all there is to that. Let's look at this simple one. Let's start here. So I've got a class defining a button. This is so nice. I'm sure that there are already classes in Pygame for buttons. You tell them something like how big you want them to be and where and what they should say on them, and I'm sure they come out really beautiful. They render on the screen really nice, and then all you have to do is tell them what function to execute when clicked, and then when you click they handle the callback. But the thing is, it was actually the appearance of buttons that got me into Pygame from the beginning, because there's a module available for Python called tkinter, and it's sort of what people consider to be the default module for making user interfaces. It can handle buttons and checkboxes and text fields and everything, but in my opinion it didn't look very good. This look here you see on the left, this minimalist look with monospace courier font and like everything in very few colors and everything in rectangles with no sheen or color gradient. I actually like that look. So I'm really weird, and that's why I just go ahead and implement this stuff myself. It's probably a real waste of time because you end up writing little functions that otherwise aren't needed. And this is one of those. So I give it a pygame.rect to describe where it's located and its size. I ask it to draw in a certain color. I tell it what text is on the button, and then I supply it with a function. We haven't seen this yet. I should say some people haven't seen this yet in Python. It hasn't showed up in our lecture series yet. The point is that you can pass a function as an argument. It doesn't just have to be a list or a number when you're passing it in. You can pass in a function, and what that does here is there's a method called check, and it allows the button to check itself and see if it got clicked. So you ask if it got clicked, you give it the coordinates, and then it determines if self.rect.collide point. So it checks to see if the point in question collides with the rectangle, which is to say you clicked the thing. And if you did, it calls self.function on the point. So if you passed in the print function, just the word print, not print hello world, just print, then over here it would call print point, and then the coordinates would appear on the command window. Not that that's what we want. In fact, what we want is a different thing to happen for each button. Okay, so if we want a different thing to happen for each button, here's where that gets set up. So you see here, there's a class game, and there's a huge init function. I don't know, there's probably a cleaner way to do this, but this is where I set up all the stuff that's on the screen. And here's the places where I instantiate those buttons. So this button here, this makes a new button. And that button has a rectangle, okay, the same stuff we were expecting to see. It's got a rectangle, it's got a color, it's got what's written on it. They all say buy because it's obvious what you're buying because the word is next to what you're buying. That's just like, I don't know, I didn't want to repeat buy house and then have the word houses next to it. I thought it would look silly. And then the function I'm passing is called self.tryHouse. I use the word self in that case because tryHouse is a method associated with an instance of this game. So we've got tryHouse over here. And for different buttons, they have different ones. Try house, try food, try farm. These are for building a house or buying food or building a farm or trying to expand. So then these functions get called when the button is pressed. I thought this was kind of a nice way of writing in the callback functions. And what it also means is that if we wanted to write an automatic player for this game, like if we get really tired of playing it, or if, for example, we wanted to write AI, or I wonder if that's a thing. Yeah, because it's Battlecode, right? That's like the whole point, is that we don't really want to play the games manually the whole time. We want to write AI. Okay, so the way I've set this up is the AI could then just call these commands, like try expand, or try to build a house, or all these other things. You would just supply it with these commands that it's allowed to use, and then it could use those and play the game, which is better than just giving it like access to these internals, like number of houses and amount of money. Because if you just gave it access to the internals, it would just say, oh yeah, money equals 1 million, military equals 1 million, I win. So this is, yeah, so you would, that's why I've set it up this way in part, so that it could be extended like that. So all of the checks needed to expand are then handled in that function. Like if you don't have enough battle, then it sets that notice indicator, and then it returns, which means that none of the rest of the stuff happens. So for each condition, it checks something and then returns, and that ensures that you're not breaking the rules. I mean, those are the rules of the game right there. Okay, so we looked at the buttons, and we also saw how they call back functions and how those functions interact with parts of the game. In the next video, we'll look at more things like rendering and screen and all that kind of stuff. So see you then.